Hello everyone, Trisha, it's me Jenny. It's time for another not naked video response to Trisha Hershberger's series Naked Truth, where we talk as candidly and as truthfully as possible about a subject of his choosing. Straight out the shower, no makeup, wet hair, first take, one take, etc, etc. Most people choose to do naked, I choose not to. But either way, it's not a sexy time thing, it's being a vulnerable and honest type of thing. And today's subject is fighting. And when I was a kid, I grew up watching a lot of really great female empowerment action series. I watched Buffy, and I watched Charmed, and I watched not Tomb Raider, I did watch Tomb Raider, Relic Hunter and Martial Law. That would be my thing to watch after getting home from ballet, and Charmed and Alias. And I get home and I watch all those things, and Firefly and Serenity, and you know, in my heart of hearts, in the back of my brain, I'm always like, yeah, if I walked into a dark alley at night and was attacked, I'd totally whip out some secret ninja skills that I don't actually have, but in my heart of hearts I'm like, yeah, I totally have ninja skills. But from my more sensible brain place, even though when I was a kid, when my sisters would scrap, which, you know, you do when you're all kids of about the same age and you just tussle, like, you know, you get into tickle fights or whatever, and, you know, someone will hide a ball and you just want to get to it, it'll be like a little confrontation. I always came up pretty well despite being very small, because I had sharp elbows and sharp knees, and I was pretty spry, so I could usually wiggle out the situation and get a couple of good sharp hits in. You know, never anything particularly violent. I also learnt licking people is incredibly unpleasant and highly effective in scrap fighting, because no one likes to be licked in any way, shape or form when you're that age. That's why wet willies are so unpleasant. It's that kind of little feeling, so I was very good at that and unafraid of that technique. I don't think that would work as an adult in any way, shape or form, but it worked when I was a kid. And despite my knowledge that I did do pretty well at scrap fighting when I was a kid, I know that if I were to walk into a dark alley, I would have no chance if anyone were to attack me. I am a puny, weak little girlie, and I've never actually been in a physical confrontation as an adult. When it comes to, like, fighting and whether or not we should, in my heart of hearts, again, I'm either like super cool ninja fight, like anything that Edgar Wright directs, I'm like, that is the best thing ever. That would be awesome if life was like that. If life was like a movie where you do this kick-ass action sequence and no one really gets hurt. That would be awesome, but it's not going to happen. The idealised alternative is, you know, you talk through it and you come to a conclusion that it's the best of both worlds and a wonderful compromise, which, you know, it's kind of what I aim for. And when it comes to fighting in my household, I think I talked about it in my siblings' Naked Truth. Most of my family is quite passive-aggressive. We don't tend to get into shouting matches of any kind. We don't really talk it out either. It just kind of, you sleep on it and you deal with it the next day. So we don't really get into verbal confrontations that much. So yeah, I don't really fight physically or verbally at all. Kind of like my idealised version of a confrontation, if we're not taking into the idealised physical fighting confrontation, is that kind of snappy return line that they have in movies once in a while, where you're like, oh, I wish I came up with that smart, snappy, amazing thing that, like, silenced the bully. I wish. You always have the moments where you're like, I wish I had that, like, actually silencing the bully with a really smart one-liner. Like, that sort of, like, winning in a fight is something that I've always wished that I could do and never managed it, because in the end, when you actually try and do that, if you're the underconfident person, it doesn't hang out very well, especially when you're, like, working from one person to several people. Even if it's the smartest thing in the world, you know, they're either not going to get it or they're going to ignore it. It just doesn't work in real life, but in, like, the fantasy setting, it's phenomenal. Like, one of my favourite confrontations in any movie history is a scene from the Jennifer L. Colin Firth Pride and Prejudice between Elizabeth and Mr. Wickham after the whole thing has happened with Lydia, and it's a verbal sparring match that she completely slaughters him in, and it's all done with smiles and it's all done with truths, and it's one of the best verbal confrontations of any film ever, and it's so subtle that people who are watching that sequence might not even realise that it's a fight, might not even realise that she's actually owning his arse, especially after he's done some horrible stuff to her family. and it's one of the best verbal confrontations ever, and it's so subtle, and it's all perfectly timed and perfectly attuned to cultural aspects and, you know, passive aggressiveness and politeness forms and gender roles of the era, and it's perfectly done. And I wish I could have a confrontation where I shut someone down that effectively. That would be my perfect way of fighting. But in the meantime, I would like to be a little River Tam and kick some serious ass, but it's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. Yeah. I haven't really been in any other physical confrontations other than play fighting with my sisters as a kid, so there we go. Hopefully I never need to find that out, but you know, that'll be a video for another time. Thank you for watching. Feel free to comment. It's late at night, I'm tired, I'm sorry if that was a rambly mess, and I'll see you guys all very soon. Bye!